Aloha, everyone, and welcome to Java. This is our look at the week of August 14th, 2023. Got a few things to look at. We've got some market data coming out, but I wanted to kind of address a change in sentiment that seems to have occurred Thursday and Friday. So there's kind of a breath holding feeling and a little bit of a cloudy uh, element, if you will, that is kind of entered onto the ground of this. So we are going to see where this comes. We've been talking about how it's reaching this tipping point. We are in the middle of August, and this is typically August, September, not very good months for the market, especially going into October. But we've got quite a few other things going on as well. We've got the BRICS summit is expected next Tuesday, the 22nd. And we've also got student loan payments that are coming due for the US. There's a few other things as well. But let's go back to the markets. The data that we're expecting is pretty simple. So Monday is pretty quiet. We're getting consumer inflation, no Fed Reserve speakers. So we'll see what happens with that. Tuesday, we're getting earnings from Home Depot. So that's obviously an indicator for um, home building, home improvement, but also a bit for housing, if you would, because people generally, right before they're trying to sell their homes, they start putting money into it to kind of spruce them up. So Tuesday, will also be getting import export data. On this, we're going to be watching data regarding China. That's the trade that we've been talking about and the shipping companies that we're watching as indicators. So these are the cooked numbers version of that. So we'll watch that. We've also got Neil Kashkari speaking at the end of the day on Tuesday. So that might be interesting to see what he has to say. Wednesday will be a busy day. We've got Target earnings. They had losses on their rainbow merchandise. So they're expected to be down. They're a bit of an indicator for retail spending, but they're kind of off because they've had a lot of odd things going on. We do have housing starts, building permits, mortgage applications, and more importantly, at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, the FOMC minutes for the July meeting. So that's where they kind of tear apart the meeting and see where everybody is kind of thinking towards the next meeting. On Thursday, we've got Walmart earnings, which are also a retail indicator. So we'll be watching them, but they've also got the grocery element. So I'm kind of expecting Walmart to do pretty well because they have the discount grocery sectors as well. And I think that's going to be a boost with the inflation in food that we've been seeing. We're getting earnings from Ross stores. They're pretty much discretionary spending. And we will also be getting jobless claims, another large number that the Fed looks at. Friday will be kind of quiet again. We are getting earnings from the company John Deere, and they're kind of a lagging indicator for local food production because basically those are mostly sales to our local farmers and see how that's doing. So take a look at that. Got a couple of headlines. I want to get what you think about this. So they're saying our economy is so wonderful and so strong. This headline was More Homes Sold Over the Asking Price This Home Buying Season. The underbelly of that is that there's been a low supply. Nobody wants to sell their house if they don't want to, if they've got a mortgage rate for 3 or 4% and have to move into something that currently is at 7.2%. So we call that the golden handcuffs, and we'll see what goes on with that. The coupled story to that is the mortgage rates rising for a third week in a row, and the US economy is showing signs of strength. So the hiking rates, mortgage rates are rising. They're just really trying to crush the housing industry. But what's going on with this? People have tapped out their credit cards, they've tapped out everything they can, and they're doing home equity lines of credit. So people are borrowing more so they can spend from every source they have. And that also is for the long term, it's got a lot of heavy implications. So we've got this one saying more drivers spend $1,000 a month on car payments. $1,000 a month is not a fancy car. This is a Nissan or a Kia or even, your regular Ford. But now you have Ford trucks, and these cars are getting $45,000, $50,000, and they're financing these $1,000 a month at 8-9%, and the payments are ridiculous. They're going into negative equity even faster. So I think that's trouble down the road for cars unless we keep inflating is the only way to stay ahead of that. So we are on a path to higher inflation regardless. And because inflation is going so high, people are trading in riskier stock options. Zero DTE stands for 0 days to expiration. So normally, if you're not a trader and don't know options, you would buy time. You would buy these out for a few weeks or even months. So that gives you time to adjust your options. But buying them on the day they expire is very risky, and it's also leveraged because each one is 100 to 1. So what they're saying is that a lot of people piling into these now with a higher risk, if they dump them all on a Friday, which is when they typically expire, and they're leveraged at 100 to 1, it could trigger a lot of the automatic selling and a halt. So that would very definitely need the plunge protection team to step in there and start buying those if that happened. We'll see what they do. So, as I said, the end of August, many student loan borrowers unsure how they'll restart their payments. That's coming up here pretty quick. So after all of this, I did want to stop off with, another story, but I want to know what you think about this. The economy, everybody is saying it's wonderful. It does have to inflate. It will have to go up in order to continue. They must inflate, otherwise they cannot keep ahead of these prices or our national debt. So let me know what you think of this in the comments. And then my last story, I don't know if you've seen this, cruise cars. Uh, they just approved these in California. They're robo taxis, so driverless. So they had just approved and rolled out a lot of these the day before. Then a lot of them had cell signal loss. So they sat there in the middle of traffic holding up major busy streets with their parking light flashers going. And I shouldn't be laughing, but I can't help it. It's a wonderful technology, I'm sure, but California of all places. So they're sitting in the middle of the road, blocking everybody, and nobody knows how to move the cars. So that was a pretty funny thing I thought I wanted to share with you. So with that, I'll let you go until the morning. I will see you then. And until then, my friends, stay free.